Hi friends, welcome in the third lecture of the philosophy. I welcome you all from my core of heart. Today we will learn about some more other philosophers. So my first philosopher is Aristotle. Aristotle lived from 384 to 322 BC in Greece. He was a student of Plato and a teacher of Alexander the Great. Yes, Alexander the Great. I hope you all know about Alexander the great king. He was one of the greatest minds in history, Aristotle. But unlike his teacher Plato, he focused on real things, what we can see, touch, and study. What did Aristotle believe? Plato said real truth lives in perfect invisible world. Aristotle said truth is found in the real world around us. He believed we learn by observation, logic, and experience. Now we will talk about his big contributions. The first is logic. He created rules for clear thinking, that is skill used in math and science. Second is biology. He studied animals, plants and classified them like a scientist. Third is ethics. He asked what makes a good life, answer living with balance and virtue. Fourth is politics. He believed government should help people grow in wisdom and virtue. Fifth is art and drama. He studies stories and said tragedy helps people feel pity and fear and find relief, called catharsis. Aristotle believed in moderation. Too little courage is called cowardice, too much courage recklessness. He called too much courage recklessness. Just enough is called bravery. So he taught the golden mean, the balance middle between extremes. Now question rises, why is Aristotle important? Because he asked deep questions about everything, natures, humans, logic, and happiness. He created a systematic way of studying the world. His ideas influenced science, education, religion, and philosophy for over 2000 years. Now we will describe Aristotle in one sentence. Aristotle believed that truth comes from observing and understanding the real world, and living wisely means finding balance in all things. Now we will talk about Stoics, another philosophers. The Stoics were philosophers who began around 300 BC in ancient Greece. The most famous Stoics include Zeno of Citium, he is the founder, Epictetus, a freed slave, Seneca, a Roman advisor, Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor. These are these all are called Stoics. They were philosophers. They taught one powerful idea: you cannot control what happens outside, but you can control how you respond inside. What did Stoics believe? Live by nature and reason. Be in harmony with nature and act wisely. Focus only on what you can control, your thoughts, actions, and choices. Accept what you cannot control, other people, the weather, luck, life, and death. This idea is called Stoic calm. This idea is called Stoic calm, being steady like a mountain in a storm. If your house burns down, a Stoic says you cannot control the fire, but you can control your reaction. Stay calm, act wisely, rebuild. Virtue is only true good. Stoics taught that things like money, fame, or even health are not truly good. The only real good is virtue, being wise, just, brave, and self controlled. If you have virtue, you already have a rich and happy life. Why are the Stoics important? Their wisdom helps people stay strong in hard times. They taught us how to handle pain, anger, sadness, and even death. Stoics ideas are still used today in therapy, like CBT, and by the leaders and athletes. Now we will describe Stoics in one sentence. The Stoics taught that true peace comes from controlling your own mind and living with courage, wisdom, and virtue no matter what life brings. Now we will talk about now we will talk about another philosopher, that is Epicurus. Epicurus lived from 341 to 270 BCE in Greece. He started a school called the Garden, where people from all walks of life, men, women, even slaves, could come and learn. He believed the goal of life is happiness through simple pleasures and peace of mind. Now question arises, what did Epicurus believe? Epicurus should Epicurus said we should live a life of calmness, freedom from fear, freedom from pain, but not thorough wild parties or riches. He taught us to enjoy a piece of bread, good conversation, a peaceful mind, true friendship. A little science too, yes. Like Democritus, Epicurus believed the world is made of atoms and empty space. So he said there is no need to fear angry gods or eternal punishment. When we die, our atoms scatter. So death is nothing to fear. Avoid too much, yes. He also said he warned that chasing too much pleasure, like overeating or riches, being pain later. True happiness comes from moderation, wisdom, and simple joys. Why are Epicureans important? They taught how to live quiet, joyful lives free from fear. They encouraged friendship, freedom, and thoughtful choices. They showed, they showed that less can be more when it comes to happiness. Now we will describe Epicureans in one sentence. Epicureans taught that happiest life is simple, peaceful, and free from pain and fear, not filled with excess or stress. Now we will talk about another philosopher. His name is Skeptics. These are group of philosophers. The skeptics were philosophers who did not trust easy answers. They asked, how can we be sure that anything we believe is really true? There are two main types. Pyrrhonian skeptics from Pyrrho lived around 360 to 270 BCE. Second is academic skeptics linked to Plato's academy later on. What did Pyrrho teach? Pyrrho traveled to India and saw peaceful monks who stayed calm in soul situations. He came back and said, we don't know anything for sure, and that's okay. So don't believe too strongly, don't worry too much, let go of judgment. This state of peace is called ataraxia, a calm, balanced mind. Why doubt everything? Skeptics notice different people believe different things. Our sense can fool us like illusions. Even great thinkers often disagree. So they said if we cannot be 100% sure, it's better to suspend judgment. This is called apoche, a holding back life. Does this lead to peace? Yes, skeptics believe letting go of certainty removes stress and conflict. You can live calmly without the pressure of being right. They did not stop thinking, but they remained open, curious, and calm. Why are skeptics important? They showed that doubt can be wise, not weak. They taught us to question what we think we know. Their ideas influenced modern science, which begins with doubt and testing. Now we will describe skeptics in one sentence. The skeptics taught that since we can never be fully sure of anything, the wise path is to suspend judgment and stay calm and open minded. Now we will talk about another group of philosophers who were known as Cynics. The Cynics were bold, fearless philosophers who believed we should live a natural, honest life, free from money, fame, and fake rules. The most famous Cynic was Diogenes of Sinope, who lived around 412 to 323 BC. He shocked people with his wild honesty, simple life, and strange behavior. The word cynic comes from Greek kynikos, meaning dog like, because they lived like stray dogs, free and shameless. What did Diogenes do? Lived in a barrel or clay jar instead of a house, owned almost nothing, laughed at rich people and powerful leaders, carried a lamp in daylight saying, I am looking for an honest man. What did cynics believe? Nature is the best guide. Live simply like animals or early humans. Throw away what you don't need. Money, fancy clothes, fake manners. Freedoms come from self-control, not from stuff. Be honest even if it shocks others. They did not hate people, they hated lies, greed and pride. Why are cynics important? They They stood up to hypocrisy and materialism. They reminded us to be brave, honest, and free from pressure. They inspired later movements like Stoicism and even modern minimalism. Now we will describe cynics in one sentence. The cynics taught that real happiness comes from living simply, honestly, and freely, without caring what others think. Now we will talk about Neoplatonists. The Neoplatonists were philosophers who lived in 3rd century Christian era, many centuries after Plato. Their leader was Plotinus, lived around 204 to 270 CE. They believed in a deep mystical idea: everything comes from one perfect source and the soul must return to it. Plotinus said there is a perfect divine source of all things. He called it the One, beyond words, beyond thought. Everything in the universe comes from the One, like rays from the sun. The levels of reality. Yes, Plotinus taught that reality has layers, like steps on a ladder. First is the One, pure, silent, perfect unity. Second is divine mind, where perfect ideas and thoughts live. Third is world soul, connects all souls and universe. Fourth is human souls, like drops from the ocean. Fifth is material world, the lowest level, full of change and imperfection. Then what is our goal? The soul wants to return upward to the One. How? Through wisdom, through beauty and love, through quiet thinking and inner peace, through turning away from distractions and the noisy world. This journey is called mystical ascent, rising above the body to reach the source. Why are Neoplatonists important? They blended Plato's ideas with spiritual mysticism. Their ideas influenced Christian, Jewish, and Islamic philosophy. They inspired art, poetry, and deep spiritual thought. Now we will describe Neoplatonism in one sentence. The Neoplatonists taught that all life flows from one perfect source, and our soul's purpose is to rise back to it through wisdom, beauty, and love. Now we will talk about medieval philosophy. From 400 to 1400 Christian era, philosophy became deep connected to religion. Thinkers in Christianity, Islam, and Judaism all ask big questions. Can we understand God through reason? What is the purpose of life? How do faith and thinking work together? This time was called the Middle Ages, and the great minds were often monks, priests, and scholars. What did they try to do? They tried to blend ancient philosophy, especially Plato and Aristotle, with religious beliefs like Bible and Quran. They believe that reason and faith are not enemies; they help each other. Big names you should know about in this is Saint Augustine. He lived around 354 to 430 Christian era. He was a Christian. He mixed Plato's ideas with Christian beliefs. Said our hearts are restless until they rest in God. Believe truth is in God and the soul must turn inward to find it. Second is Boethius, who lived around 480 to 524 CE. He wrote The Consolation of Philosophy while in reason. He said happiness comes from inner virtue, not fortune or power. Third is Saint Thomas Aquinas. He lived around 1225 to 1274 Christian era. He mixed Aristotle's logic with Christian theology. He wrote Summa Theologica, a huge work on God, ethics, and the universe. Sad reason can lead us to some truths about God. Now we will talk about in this is Jewish and Islamic thinkers. Maimonides tried to explain Torah using reason. Avicenna, Muslim, a scientist and philosopher who used Aristotle. Averroes defended reason as a way to understand religion. He was also a Muslim. Why is this important? They kept philosophy alive during dark times. They connected old wisdom with new beliefs. They showed that faith and reason can work together to seek truth. Now we will describe medieval philosophy in one sentence. Medieval philosophers believed that using reason to understand God, the soul, and the goodness could strengthen, not weaken, faith. Now we will talk about Renaissance philosophy. The Renaissance, which means rebirth. It was a time when people across Europe got inspired by ancient Greece and Rome again. Artists, scientists, and thinkers all began asking what is human being really capable of. It was the age of Da Vinci, Michelangelo, Galileo, and also a time for new philosophers who believed in the power of reason and dignity of humans. What changed in philosophy? During the Middle Ages, philosophy focused mostly on God and religion. But in the Renaissance, thinkers began to focus more on human nature, freedom, art and beauty, education, the natural world. This movement was called humanism. What is humanism? Humanists believe humans are beautiful, capable of learning, creating, and choosing. We don't need to wait for heaven. We can make this life meaningful. Study of history, languages, and philosophy helps us grow wise and good. Big Renaissance thinkers: Pico della Mirandola, 1463 to 1494, he lived around. He wrote Oration on the Dignity of Man. He said, God gave humans no fixed place. We can rise like angels or fall like beasts. Erasmus, who lived around 466 to 1536, a peaceful Christian humanist. He believed education and kindness were important than strict rules. Third is Machiavelli, who around 469 to 1527. He wrote The Prince, said rulers should be realistic, not just ideal. He was famous for saying it is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. Why is Renaissance philosophy important? It is celebrated the power of humans to create, learn, and choose. It prepared the way for modern science and freedom of thought. It brought beauty and life back into philosophy. Now we will talk Renaissance philosophy in one sentence. Renaissance philosophers believed in the beauty, strength, and freedom of human spirit, the power of learning to shape a better world. Now we will talk about the age of reason, that is enlightenment, light of logic and liberty. What was enlightenment? Enlightenment, 17th to 18th centuries, was a time in Europe when thinkers believed reason, science, and freedom can solve all problems and improve society. They wanted to end ignorance, superstitions, and unfair rulers. It is called the Age of Reason because they trusted human thinking above tradition or religion alone. What did Enlightenment thinkers believe? People have natural rights like life, liberty, and property. Government should protect those rights. If not, people can change them. Knowledge comes from experience and reason, not just books or church. Freedom of speech, religion, and thought is essential. Science is the best way to understand the world. Now we will talk about key Enlightenment thinkers. First is John Locke, who lived around 1632 to 1704. He said people are born with natural rights. He believed government is a contract with people. Second is Voltaire, who lived around 1694 to 1778. He fought for freedom of speech and religion. He criticized tyranny and superstition. Third is Jean-Jacques Rousseau. He lived around 1712 to 1778. He said government should reflect general will or common good. He believed in equality and popular sovereignty. Fourth one was Immanuel Kant, who lived around 1724 to 1804. He said, dare to know, have courage to use your own understanding. He developed ideas about morality and reason. Why is the Enlightenment important? It inspired human rights and modern science. It challenged our ideas about kings, religion, and society. It made people believe that everyone can think and decide for themselves. Enlightenment philosophy in one sentence. Now we will talk about Enlightenment thought that through reason, science, and freedom, humans can create a fairer and better world. Now we will talk about another great philosopher whose name is Immanuel Kant. I hope you all know about Immanuel Kant. He is very famous. Immanuel Kant, who lived around 1724 to 1804, was a German philosopher who changed how we think about knowledge, morality, and freedom. He asked, how do we know what we know? What makes action moral? What is freedom? What was Kant's big idea about knowledge? Kant said our mind actively shapes what we see and understand. We don't just receive facts from the world, our mind organizes them with its own rules. This means the world as we experience it is partly made by your own mind's way of thinking. Kant's moral philosophy. The categorical imperative. Kant believed morality is not about feeling or consequences, but about rules that everyone must follow. He called this the categorical imperative. Act only according to the rule which you want to become a universal law. In simple words, only do things you believe everyone should do always. For example, don't lie because if everyone lied, trust would disappear. What about freedom? Kant said true freedom is acting according to your own moral laws, not just desire or outside pressure. Freedom is linked to reason and responsibility. Why is Kant important? He showed how reason shapes knowledge and morality. His ideas influence ethics, politics, and psychology. He breeds rationalism and empiricism. Rationalism is thinking and empiricism is experience. Now we will describe Kant in one sentence. Kant thought that our mind shape knowledge, that that morality comes from universal rules we choose freely, and that true freedom is acting responsibly through reason. Now we will talk about another great philosophy, that is utilitarianism. Utilitarianism is a philosophy that says right action is the one that creates the most happiness for the most people. It focuses in the result of actions called consequences to decide what's good or bad. Who started utilitarianism? Two main thinkers, Jeremy Bentham, who lived around 1748 to 1832, he was the founder, and second is John Stuart Mill. He expanded and softened the ideas. He lived around 1806 to 1873. What did Bentham believe? Happiness is pleasure and absence of pain. Every action can be measured by how much pleasure or pain it creates. This is called hedonic calculus. He wanted to make laws and society based on increasing happiness. What did Mill add? Mill said not all pleasures are equal. Some pleasures like learning or art are higher and better than simple physical pleasures. He also cared about individual freedom and justice. What is utilitarianism important? Why is utilitarianism important? Because it is a practical way to decide what's right or wrong. It's used in ethics, politics, economics, and laws. It asks who benefits, who suffers. Utilitarianism in one sentence we will describe now. Utilitarianism teaches that best actions are those that bring the greatest happiness to the greatest number of people. Now we will talk about another great philosophy, that is existentialism. Existentialism is a philosophy about what it means to be human, to live freely, and to find meaning in life, even when life seems confusing or hard. It asks, why am I here? What should I do with my life? How can I be authentic and true to myself? Who were the existentialists? Some famous existential thinkers were Soren Kierkegaard, who lived around 1813 to 1855, often called the father of existentialism. Second is Friedrich Nietzsche, who lived around 1844 to 1900. He challenged the traditional values. Second is Jean Paul Sartre. He said existence precedes essence. The last one is Simon de Beauvoir, who lived around 1908 to 1986. He explored freedom and oppression. Now we will talk about key ideas of existentialism. Existence precedes essence. We are born without a fixed nature or purpose. We create ourselves by our choices and actions. Freedom and responsibilities. We are free to choose, but we must take all fully responsibility for those choices. Third one is authenticity. Living true to yourself, not just following the crowd or social rules. Fourth is angst and absurdity. Feeling anxiety or confusion is normal when facing freedom and meaninglessness. Why is existentialism important? It focused on individual experience and freedom. It encourages people to create their own purpose. It has influenced literature, psychology, and art. Now we will describe existentialism in one sentence. Existentialism teaches that life has no given meaning, So each person must freely choose and create their own purpose. Now we will talk about another great philosophy, that is phenomenology. Phenomenology is a study of how things appear to our consciousness, our direct experience of the world. It tries to understand how we experience things before we judge or think about them. Who started phenomenology? He was Edmund Husserl, who lived around 1859 to 1938. He is the founder of phenomenology. Later thinkers like Martin Heidegger or Maurice Merleau-Ponty developed it further. What does phenomenology do? It looks at things as they are experienced, not just as objects studied by science. It asks, why is it like to see, hear, feel, or think something? It tries to describe experience without assumptions or judgments, just pure description. Key ideas are intentionality. Our consciousness is always about something. We are always thinking of experiencing something. Bracketing epoche, putting aside all beliefs and theories about the world to focus on pure experience. Third is essences, trying to find the core meaning of experiences by looking at them carefully. Now, why is phenomenology important? It influences existentialism, psychology, and modern philosophy. It helps us understand how people experience consciousness, perception, and meaning. Bridges the gap between subjective experience and objective reality. Phenomenology, in one sentence, we can describe it. Phenomenology studies how things appear in our experience, focusing on the pure, direct way we perceive the world. So this is all about today's lectures. Thank you very much.